Many prospective clients come to us and say, I'm moving out of my property. I don't know whether or not I should rent it or sell it. Converting your primary residence into a rental property is not an easy decision. It requires careful consideration. Today, we're going to explore 6 important questions you should ask yourself before making that choice. The first question to ask yourself, if I didn't already own this property, would I buy it as a rental? The reason why you want to consider this is, let's say it's a condominium. Well, if it's a condominium, you're going to have to deal with the condo association and maybe get some approval before the tenant moves in. It may be in a homeowners association, and you should check your documents whether or not you can have a rental in the neighborhood. And then some HOAs, homeowners associations, require that they do a background on the tenant that you want to move in. And another thing to consider with that, if you would have bought this as a rental, does it make financial sense? In other words, maybe you can't get enough rent to cover the mortgage if you have a mortgage on it and so forth. And the negative cash flow could be a drag on your income. So then in that case, you might be better off selling the property. Number 2, what would my net profit be? When people contact us, they may say, well, I want to rent it out for my mortgage payment. So the first thing to consider with that is that it's not your mortgage payment that drives what you can rent it out or that you could rent it for that dollar amount. It's what the market will bear for rent. So don't just look at the rent you collect. You got to add up all the expenses, the mortgage if you have it, taxes, insurance if they're not already escrowed in your mortgage payment, repairs and potential vacancy. And then if you're hiring a property manager, you've got to factor in the cost for the management services. And another thing to consider is maintenance. We usually advise clients that you got to factor in an additional 15% of the monthly rent to cover repairs and replacements. So if you factor all of these numbers in, that's your true profit. Now, before we get to the next point, I want to talk to you about the SunWorld Group. We help owners with consultation, analysis, and property management services. We help hundreds and hundreds of landlords over the years. If you're a property owner in Southwest Washington, please visit our site, sunworldgroup.com. Now, question number 3. Can you emotionally detach from the home? You got to ask yourself, if you've been in this house for many, many years, can you emotionally detach? You have a lot of memories, but now it's going to be an investment. And you got to look at it that way. It's no longer your home. It's a business. And a business that is an investment. Your tenants may not treat it the same way. Sometimes they treat it really, really good. And in a neighborhood, you may find it hard to tell which home is a rental versus someone living in it or renting it or having that house as a personal residence. Sometimes rental properties, tenants take care of them so well, it looks better than somebody that's living in it as their personal residence. But if it's going to be really hard for you to detach, you might want to consider selling it. Now, another thing is question 4, what is your long-term goal with the property? Your long-term plans make a big difference. Sometimes people, they get involved with a relationship and one moves into the other house. Well, you can always have that house now as a rental if you need it later, or maybe you want plans change. That house is bigger. You may want to move into the bigger house. So you always have a house to come back to. If you're moving away permanently, you're never coming back, you might want to decide either to sell it, or you're definitely going to need property management if you're going to be far away from the house. The other thing to consider is that now it's an investment, whether or not you're far away from the house. Usually property management could take care of it while you're far away. And number 5, how far away will you be? Well, you might be moving down the street or somewhere else in town, or you might be moving out of the country. So you got to make that decision, because if you're going to self-manage and you're far away, it's very difficult. However, if you have property management, then your property management company can take care of it, and it really doesn't matter where you live. But if you're one of those people that really feels you need to be close to your property, regardless whether or not you have property management, you might want to consider selling it. And number 6, what are the tax implications of having this rental home? So it's important that you understand the taxes and how it's going to affect you with rental income. So we suggest that you contact a tax professional to see how placing this house into a rental is going to affect your taxes. There are tax benefits if you sell a personal residence, but after a couple years, things kind of change with a rental property if you sell it. So that's why we suggest that you contact a tax professional. In closing, you can use these questions to determine whether or not turning the house into a rental property or selling it, depending on what's going to suit you better. We hope you found this video helpful. Be sure to like it and subscribe for more tips on managing rental properties. Thank you for watching.